congratulate your association for all you do, not only in Vienna, but I understand countrywide. Rotary clubs have always been a lot close to me. I've had some friends who have had the graduation or our college traditions. What you do for the community is so important, and I salute you for all what you do. When somebody told me I was 96 years old, I said, it can't be.
Okay.
And somebody said you were married for 68 years, and I said, that can't be either. So I'm here before you. All statistics are out. I feel younger than 96. I feel better to be married. I'm 68. And now let me give you a few comments about what I did defending our country in World War II and Korea. A good pilot always has a wingman. I have a wingman today, Bill Webb. A good wingman prepares you, protects you, and most of all tells you when you've gone too far and get off the guardrail. My exposure to World War II was after I graduated from high school in 1941. 41 was a great year, not only for Vineyard, but for high school graduates too. The war was going strong in Germany under Hitler. They were taking over countries in a part of the country in Europe that the people didn't even know they were being taken over, but they were. Mussolini in Italy was taking over in the Pacific, and also in Japan. The Japanese were doing things we had no way of knowing because we had no satellites in those days that could fly around and say what's going on in this island or that island. When I graduated from high school, I figured that the war was in force. I was going to be affected. And I said, I'd like to make my choice whether I wear brown, white, or blue. I picked the blue because I knew I'd like to be in aviation. I followed aviation as a youngster, building planes, etc. My problem was with the Navy Air Corps, you had to have 4 years of college before you could enter the program. Having just graduated from high school, I didn't have the 4 years of college. I went to business school for 1 year to get some interesting beginnings of what my thought was about business and corporations. Upon graduating from that, I went to work for a company that made guns for the Army. One Sunday afternoon, we were listening to a football game. No television in those days. And the announcer came on, and the announcement said, the Japanese have bombed Pearl Harbor on Oahu Island in
Hawaii. Hawaii.
well, it was in the
Hawaii.
Pacific. Hawaii. I always knew, I didn't know where Hawaii was. Most of us didn't. It was no longer, it wasn't a state then. I knew they had Hawaiian music, pineapples, and gray skirts. Well, I went to work and said, we are going to have problems with the, excuse me, bring a tear. To go to, without high school graduation and go to the Navy, I couldn't do it, so I said, I will just bide my time and wait for the draft to come and pull my number. One day I was reading the paper that said the Naval Aviation Program will accept people without a 4-year college graduation if they have at least 1 year of college or business school. That was good for me. Three other friends and myself applied and went up to Boston, Massachusetts, spent all day taking the test, physical and mental. Tough, hard. And I said, this can't be, but we'll do it anyway. That night at 5 o'clock, they said, thank you for coming. We will write to you and let you know what the results of your test was. In 2 weeks, I got a letter saying, congratulations, you have passed the test. My other two friends, two didn't pass the physical, and one did not pass the mental. But they wished me well. My training, I went to 3 universities, 5 naval air stations, and a little over 2 years of training, which I still maintain was the best training any military could put on in the world. And the results in World War II echoed that we were well prepared. My training started in Pensacola, Florida. And as a young person, could not afford a year's degree as President Bush did, and he was in before me. He went in at 18 and I went in at 19, so he beat me by a year, or I could have had the accolade of being the youngest Navy pilot.
Oh.
The training was intense, well-paying, and a part of, made me a better man than I am. My training consisted of flying airplanes, all kinds, at all times and all speeds. At the end of that training in Pensacola, I was awarded my wings and made an ensign, a young ensign, a first ensign. The choice of duties was evident and it had to be done when you graduated. Would you go multi-engine, which was a large plane that the Navy flew around the country? Amphibious planes, which flies in the water, in the ocean and in lakes? Or a fighter pilot flying from a carrier? That's me. And they accepted my offer, and I was glad they did. My training then consisted of a plane that, first time I sat in it, I said, where's the instructor? Because every plane I had flown to that date always had a person in front of me or in back of me telling me how to do it, and dummy, you're getting in trouble, get out of it.
Wow.
So I said, well, who's gonna tell us how to do this? Here's your handbook, read the handbook, and we'll give you a test in a short time, blindfold it so you can point to where the indicators on the dashboard are. Airspeed, fuel, temperature, etc. I passed that also, I guess, because I'm still here.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
After the initial training at plane, we did some more training about gunfighting, fighting enemy planes. The plane I flew was an F-4F, a Wildcat, made by Grumman. Had 3 50 caliber in my wing, one wing, 50 caliber, another wing. We had 6 rockets, 3 under each wing, and we had 2 50-pound bombs strapped to the bottom of the plane. That was our armament. To train how to fight that, you had to have a lot of time, not only in book learning, but also in practical flying. And we had a lot of fun flying imaginary enemy until we said, all right, to become a carrier pilot, you have to land successfully 8 times on a carrier.
That's not a successful.
8 times on a carrier. So the first training I had with the new plane was we practiced in the field on an air runway that had some white markings where the side of a carrier would be. And we practiced that faithfully, make sure we're landing within those marks. Landing on a carrier is a lot different than landing on a runway. A runway is there, and you take off and go around for 3 or 4 hours, come back, the runway's still there. A little bit different with a carrier. You take off, and you do your work, and you come back, uh-oh, it's not there. Because during the day, when we were flying, the carrier was also evading submarines, other Japanese planes, so that they did not or could not hold to the course. We had no radar in our planes. We had strictly radio. At times, quite often, we had radio silence. We discovered that the Japanese had developed something that when we made a radio program, they would trace that, where it came from, what altitude, and what speed. So we would be giving ourselves away to the enemy. So quite often, no radios, a lot of hand signals between of us. There was always 4 of us in the quad squad. One was a wingman, like my friend today. The best thing about carrier is that once you learn how to land on it, you become pretty proficient. Your hair gets grayer, your hair gets less, but you say, good, stand, and walk away from this one. After enough training on that runway, they finally said, okay, you're going to do your 8 landings out in the Atlantic Ocean on a carrier. There were 6 of us training, and the instructor was taking us there. We spent the night in the Florida coast, got up the next morning, and he said, okay, we're going out today to land on the carrier. I will lead you. He had been a carrier pilot and was back on rehab and working, training us. He said, we'll circle, and when the carrier blinks that you can now land, I, as your instructor, will be down first, and I'll critique how you do your 8 landing takeoff. We watched him, he circled, approached up the chute to the deck, missed the 4 wires, hit the barrier, and crashed his airplane.
Your turn.
That's the teacher. It took some while to clear up that airplane. Finally, the carrier blinked, said, okay to land on the carrier with your practice landing. The 6 of us looked at each other. I'm not sure today whether it was me or somebody else who did that first landing, but it was done. And during that whole morning, we did nothing but take off and land on that carrier. All 6 of us were successful. At lunch, the instructor was very quiet. And he said, okay, one of you have to let me have your plane so I can fly back to our station in Florida. And the next day, there will be a 2-passenger plane that will land on this carrier and take you back.